Calls to abolish, defund, or reform police departments grow louder across the country. What should be done to make the system more just for everyone? We'll talk about it with Representative Brenda Lawrence. And how racial disparities affect health, wealth, and so many other aspects of life here in Metro Detroit. Today is Sunday, June 14th, 2020. This is Flashpoint.
Hello and welcome to Flashpoint. I'm Sandra Ali. Devin is off this week, and it was a week packed with more goodbyes, protests, and calls for change in the name of George Floyd. They took place all across the country after a memorial service in Minneapolis, a private remembrance in North Carolina where Floyd was born, then a final farewell at the funeral in Houston where he spent most of his life. Then his brother, Philonis, gave emotional testimony on Capitol Hill, asking the House Judiciary Committee to make sure George's death wasn't in vain. So what can lawmakers do? Democrats introduced the Justice in Policing Act with provisions for things like creating a national police misconduct registry, mandating training changes, and banning chokeholds. And as with so much these days, some say it goes too far. Others say it's nowhere near enough. We'll talk with one of the bill's co-sponsors, Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence. The debate is against a backdrop of continuing demonstrations from downtowns to small towns. But from where we live to where we work to what happens if we catch COVID-19, Metro Detroit has a long way to go when it comes to racial equity. And we'll talk about it this morning. And it's one of the most consequential things you can do in under 10 minutes, but many people still haven't filled out the census form. We'll check in on where Michigan's count stands. It's all coming up this morning on Flashpoint. This week, Democrats in the House introduced the Justice in Policing Act, legislation that aims to increase accountability and decrease excessive use of force. Let's go ahead and talk about it with one of the bill's co-sponsors and the only African-American member of Michigan's congressional delegation, Representative Brenda Lawrence. It's so good to have you here with us. Let's talk about the bill. Is this bill enough?
Absolutely not. It's the beginning. There's so many layers of racism when we talk about Black Lives Matter, when we talk about values, and we have a democracy, justice in America for African Americans. That's what makes you an American. And it is so many layers, but this has been violated from what was viewed by addressing the immediate outcry from millions of people, not only here in America, the public, about police brutality, America, but around the world. When they think of America, about African Americans, they think about we are being adversely in policies, our freedoms and our rights. And this is acted by a justice system. It's just a total violation of that. We haven't talked about the economic. This is a start. But as we're talked about the education, having this really hard conversation, environmental. So you're going to see a bill about race in America from the Congressional Black Caucus after we pass. I know for a fact that this bill, which is that we are going to seize this moment, policing, and the Black Caucus is really leading the way, justice and in America with this, that we move from protest. You're going to see a bill for us, and from screaming voices, jobs and justice, which goes to what we call through the whole economic piece, transformational change in America when it comes to the education piece and to race relations, reparations and all of that. You're going to see that. It was said so eloquently by coming up.
It sounds like to me, if I'm hearing
Martin Luther King, Injustice to One.
Hearing you right, that you're saying this is basically
as injustice to all.
You know, the start. This is the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
This legislation has been described by some. Do you think this is the best option for us as sweeping? You're saying right now?
Absolutely. I mean,
it's a start. How do we even begin to
see the amount of
have what, is being described as a need for
test and just total
for an overall shift, really, in police culture? It takes a lot and a long time to change a culture.
Yes, it does. A volume of emotion to say this is unacceptable. Being a former mayor and having acceptable in America, whites, black, police department. I know for a fact, youngs, old, they're saying this that I depended on my police department. This must stop in America. This is not the American, but we had leadership that we, as a democracy, that said, you will treat all overseas support. And, I often know of the residents of this city, remind people that there's whatever their race, whatever no ethnicity that defines their religion, their ethnicity, they're an American. It is that culture. You will treat them with dignity and coming together where we support, believe, respect. And what we're seeing is some values, and we have a democracy. Not, because a lot of people want to take this mercy. That's what makes you an American. And say we're demonizing police. Absolutely. And that has been violated from what was really not. But we have to view by millions of people, not only transform the person here in America, but around the world. When they think perception of America, they think about are there to help. There's trust. There to help. There's trust. In so many communities, we just had a town hall, not a town hall, but a briefing today in Washington. I just came back home. And in the briefing, we had some community activists that say in some communities, we don't even call the police when there's a problem. We take care of it because we know if we call the police, they're not there to take care of us. They're not there to protect us. They're there to find a reason to incarcerate us or to create a record for someone. And so if they know if the police come, they're going to be slammed in jail, we'll try to diffuse the situation because we don't trust the police. And so I would say that there's some conversations with the unions, and I've always supported the unions because being a mayor, I know how important it is that you have a professional, trained, and responsive police department. It's essential to the quality of life that we expect in our communities. Everyone has some time or another had to dial 911, and they have an expectation. But however, just like we have laws that if you drink and drive, not only will your license be taken away, you can be incarcerated, you can get tickets. That doesn't bother me because I don't drink and drive. So that to me is a good thing because it doesn't endanger other people, including me, with people who are drinking and driving. If there is a part in here about racial profiling, that we will make it illegal to racially profile. Well, if you don't racially profile, this law should not bother you. If you are not a police officer who has multiple complaints against you, as the officer did who took the life of Mr. Floyd, and so if that doesn't apply to you, you should be okay. And I know for a fact the union has to represent these officers that give them a bad name. Because this situation, so many officers have stepped up and said, that's not us. That's not me. And I know that's a fact. And so when we have the discussion about defunding police, that's not a conversation I want to have. But I had a town hall with police chiefs. And you know what they told me? Congresswoman, if a person's having a psychotic episode or they're dealing with their mental illness, who do they call? They call the police because there's no other resources. If you wanted to take money and establish a response system for mentally ill, it would help us as police. So those are the type of conversations we need to have.
And Congresswoman, you talk about building trust, you talk about responsibility. Part of this legislation is about creating a national registry where you talk about tracking police misconduct. That's no small task. No, it's not. And understand this bill will say, because someone said, well, you can't make anyone do this. But what we're saying is that in order to receive federal dollars, and every police force does, then you should be in compliance with these laws. Chokeholds has been banned in this bill. I mean, that's a no-brainer. The training that was incorporated in the 21st Century Policing Commission that was established by President Obama, which President Trump dismantled and defunded it, it's in there as well. So we had a start with President Obama's
police force, 21st Century Policing Commission, that has been incorporated. And then so what is important? I want people to grab hold to this. Not only was it just awful to watch that police officer take the life of Mr. Floyd, he was literally training new officers. So you think about that as these officers are in their fourth day, their third day, they're brand new, and they're being trained that this is the type of behavior that you should have as a police officer. And so when we talk about that registry where the FBI will be monitoring it, why aren't you addressing this officer who has had numerous complaints of excessive force, of being citizens saying that they went above and beyond? And so it also stops an officer who's fired to just go to another office and say, I have 25 years as a police officer, so hire me. No, you'll be mandated to look at the registry and see what kind of officer they are.
Congresswoman Lawrence, we so appreciate your insight and you joining us here. Obviously, we're just getting the conversation started, so we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And it's time to move to transformational change. This country, we can do this. This is such a moving time. Being an African American, it's pulling at my heartstrings because I love this country. I am this country, and I want to be treated equally.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Lawrence. We appreciate it. When we come back, we will dig into a new report on racial equity right here in Metro Detroit.